All right, so we are in hard times. There's no need even talking about it. Everyone is just being taken aback with all of the issues that comes with the situations exacerbated by the increase of pump price of fuel. It does seem as if everything got into this chaotic situation when prices of fuel went up, because apparently everything is predicated on the transportation, the angle of transportation that comes to do with the production of any goods and services. If you have a farmer who produces crops, say somewhere in Nike, he has to transport himself from Nike up until town where you are, and of course vice versa as well. So if he takes transportation 100 naira from his village to town, and all of a sudden it changes from 100 naira to 1,000 naira, you can imagine where he's going to put all that costs in. He's going to put it down to the consumer. But then, how does this in any way affect anyone and everyone? Because again, like it or leave it, people's food patterns begin to change when they see that they're not able to meet up with other issues. So how are you feeding this period? Are you feeling the economy? And does it affect what you eat? To what extent? So we have with us live in the studio a dietitian who will practically tell us how to feed good and at least take balanced diet in these days and times. I got into talking to someone earlier. He was saying that he doesn't know what balanced diet is anymore. What he knows is that if he comes out and he finds anything to eat and he could actually hold his stomach for that day, thank God. He's just looking forward to the next day. Balanced diet is no longer on the course meal. But again, we need to put that into perspective. And Chizoba Okwy-Nweke, the Chairman, Dietitian Association of Nigeria, is here with us to talk about that. Good to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, guys.
Right. How difficult is it? I mean, you are a dietitian, so you know these things. I wouldn't go back to talk about how hard it is for people out there, but how difficult do you think it is for Nigerians to have balanced diets, which yourself, as a professional, would always advocate?
Just like you said, hard times. Everybody is experiencing it one way or the other. Initially, the rate of kwashiorkor and marasm was reduced a lot, but these days now you see them more in the hospitals. To tell you that it's really digging down into people, especially those in the hinterland. Now, everybody is experiencing it. But the problem we have is that we lack the nutrition knowledge to be able to manage and sustain the little resources we have when it comes to food. That is it. It's not easy everywhere. Just like you said, somebody bringing food from inside our local government into town. The cost of transportation now is higher than it used to be. And now those little items, food items we used to buy at a cheaper rate has skyrocketed. So even when you are telling somebody, eat this, eat that, do this, do that, the person finds it difficult to do. So as a dietitian, we come down to the level at which you believe that the person's source of income can handle it, because there is no level where you cannot get balanced diet. So we are going to clear it out for your friend.
Apparently. I mean, I need to get into that clearly. So for those who are on the lowest rung of things, how do you take balanced diets in times like this?
Okay, it depends on the person's health status. One, you have to put it into consideration, because sometimes if one is ill or has one non-communicable diseases, you have to put that into consideration. Apart from that, coming down to the BRS minimum, we have to go down to our local food. We have to go down to our local food. Most of our local food are very nutritious.
Example?
Agaraga.
Agaraga?
Yes, the one from Osoka side. Oba, the one from Udi side. Iziago, that area. Nkanu, they are abacha. Why I say that is that agaraga is complete. Everybody eats it daily. The oka, maize, is carbohydrate. The abaka, or what that they use, is protein, plant protein. Some add beans, it is another form of protein. Then you have the vegetables you use, ogo, angara, any type of vegetable you add in it, it's there. Then the oil you put there is there. So already we'll have that almost complete meal for it and you drink your water instead of eating pasta and tinned tomatoes. You understand? And see that buying animal protein now is very expensive. So what you do at that time now is come down to that crayfish. Even the crayfish is very expensive. But for instance, you know, that will have dawa around here, even everywhere within the country. It's proteinous. So we can add it to our meal and we'll get something better from it. Because anyhow, we must buy this or that to eat. At this point now, we no longer need to eat only rice. If we are supposed to eat like 3 cups of rice as lunch, we can decide to make it 3 cups of rice and 1 cup of beans.
Okay.
You are still buying, instead of buying 4 or 5 cups, so that you incorporate the protein source into the diet and eat. Instead of eating just yam, pottage yam, you can decide to put vegetables in it, plenty, and then you have vegetable yam, and there we go. So coming down to our local meals will be better for us than all this processed food that we have. Even the local rice today goes in better for us because you still have some little micronutrients in it, like the vitamin A and stuff like you can still get it in it. There are traces of protein in it, unlike the processed one that has been processed and fortified. We cannot verify the fortification of the rice. We were not there. Is what you see on the label that you can work with. So in this hard time, we can still come down to our local and sustainable diet. You know that most of this process is not easy to sustain it. This kind of thing, everybody wants to be on that level. It is not nutritious the way it should, and it's more expensive. That's it.
Fantastic. Some people say that okpa, makes you heavy, especially when you take it with soda. So is it advisable to eat every day?
It depends. One, okpa somehow is proteinous. Now you can take your okpa and tea instead of taking it with soda, preferably with water. If we are talking about sustainable dieting, we don't need soda. We need the okpa and water, and then buy fruit. That money for the soda, we use it and buy fruit. It goes in better than soda and okpa. It is sweet, in quotes. They say that if you don't take okpa with soda, it means that you don't enjoy it. But for the nutritious aspect of it, I think okpa with tea, okpa with pap, okpa with water. Then that money for soda, let's convert it for fruit.
Yeah, I mean, some persons would also even advise in terms of fruits. But then on the flip side, if you advise somebody who was the lowest rung to just eat only fruits, even though it's healthy, they tell you that it's not filling.
Yes, it's not. Ordinarily, it's not. Most times, the reason for taking the fruits is because of the nutritive content, what you get from it, especially the micronutrients, the antioxidants and phytochemicals. That's why we go towards that side. Body does not require it in large quantity, like the energy-giving foods. We require it in little, but it's very essential. So nobody can tell you to take it as meal. Something is wrong, except you are on dieting input. But when you eat your energy-giving food, instead of taking that soda or any other thing by the side, you convert it to that fruit or vegetable that will be good for your body. That's what we are. You can't just take it. Even a sedentary worker that comes to the office and sits down normally, you can't just take fruit like that, except you have trained yourself or you are being intentional. I'm going to take this quantity of fruit and go to work. Then you manage it to your lunchtime. You can't tell somebody that is a businessman, a laborer, or something like that to take fruit. No, it's not. Even a teacher. You know that mental work saps energy. So you can't even tell the person to do it. But like this fruit we are talking about, it has a portion that you take on daily basis. It's not just taking it like a full meal. No. If you're supposed to take like watermelon, you have the quantity that you need. If it is mango, 2 or 3, depending on the size. For the day.
For the day, okay.
Oranges you have, because those fruits you have still contains calories in it. but the nutrients, the other nutrients is what we are looking at. That calorie is not filling, but the calorie from yam, beans, carbohydrate, and fat product is filling. So that's why you say balance. You bring little from here, you bring little from there, then you merge it. It becomes a balanced diet we're talking about.
Interesting. Okay, now we have spoken about those who are on the lowest rung. Let's come down to a little bit people who are in the average. Most people will say they're average, but these days it looks like they're bouncing from low and
yes.
So what is available for those sets of people, and while you are talking about that, do people still come for consultation? Because again, they don't have money to eat food. They would be going to consult.
It's true. What you're saying is true, but most times they don't do it at the right time. But when they are down with one illness or the other, you see them calling you frantically, as in it's as if their life depends on it, which it does at that time. You understand? But I believe it is still that lack of knowledge, awareness. When you are not aware of something, you might not know. Some people will come to the hospital and they'll tell them, you need to see a dietitian. You say, okay, our diet, now. Anyway, let me go and buy my drugs and go. Another day I will come. Then by the time they come back the next time and they see that they are not getting better, you now see the person telling you, okay, now let's talk about it. Some will tell you, don't worry, I will search for it on the internet. Forgetting that the internet is not an individualized counseling that they give. Absolutely. They give you just a general knowledge, and you have a lot of quacks on the internet talking about food and nutrition. So at this point, some that is aware, those people that are aware, they come in for counseling. They come in. Then those that are not aware, one thing or the other pushes them to come. And once they start coming, they continue coming because they see the benefits of doing that. They continue coming.
So, of the meal part for the average Nigerian?
Okay, when you come to that now, depending on your income, I will still say let us come down to the local food. With that local food now, you can now decide to be taking your fish. You can add animal protein to it. That's the beef, the chicken, bushmeat, the one you can afford. You can decide to do that. There's no problem. You can decide to be taking your 3 meals, appetizer, main dish, dessert. If your money can carry you through, there's no problem with that. But I know that we do our counseling depending on what you can afford. If you can afford the egg, what's there? We'll give you meals containing egg. Tell you how many times you have to eat it in a day. And you do it. But if you cannot, we look for something lower than that will still give you that. Or tell you how you are going to plan it so that it will be okay for you.
Okay, tell us a little bit about your profession generally, dieting, and for sets of people, because again, it's not something that someone would think through when they wake up and they say, I'm going to see a dietitian. Is that they're going to see a doctor, they're going to see, the physician, but it's not like you wake up and say, let me go and see a dietitian. Tell us about your profession and how it affects Nigerians.
We are talking about nutrition and dietetics. When it's you get into school through JAMB, to do it is a 5-year course, after which you do your internship 1 year. When you graduate from school, you're a nutritionist. Then when you go for your internship, clinical internship in a hospital, after that you go for your exam, professional exam, which if you pass, you now become a dietitian. Dietitian handles patients. You have clients. It has to do with therapeutic dieting. They are the only people qualified to talk about diet regards to patients. You understand? So that is it. And like now, you need to be registered so that we'll be sure that you are a dietitian, and you must have gone through the university. Some people do it 2 weeks, a 2-week program on one nutrition course, 2 weeks, 1 month, and 6 months. They come out and say that they are certified nutritionists, but they cannot be a certified dietitian. That's the thing about it. And then when it comes to that, in the hospital, The dietitians works with the team of health professionals. You cannot treat a patient without talking about the patient's feeding. Either the patient is feeding through the nose, through the mouth, that's the one we call nasogastric feeding, tracheostomy feeding, gastrostomy feeding, oral feeding. The person must be on food. So the dietitian is there to check the number, the quantity, and the timing of the feeding. In some hospitals, they assist in feeding. You see the dietitians in sports. We have dietitians, sports dietitians, nutrition dietitians when it comes to the, sports. You see them specializing in kidney cases. You see them in cancer departments and stuff. You know, so there are so many areas where they can work again in primary health care, the health centers in the villages. Private hospital can employ them, and they do that job for them, even though some people tend to do their own and that of the dietitian. But you know that studying something for 5 years is not the same thing with doing it for 2 semesters in a year.
Of course.
Out of 7 years, you do it 2 semesters, or out of 5 years, you do it 2 or 3 semesters. They are not the same. Or maybe you read it online and want to like do. Most times there is always a mistake, because as a dietitian, that's why we tell you it's individualized. If you are diabetic, I'll have to do some calculations before I place you on diet. And then make sure I check it on daily basis, knowing that you are supposed to be on 2,000 kilocalories per day. I don't have to break it down into 3 or 4 meals. Okay, 3 meals, your snacking and everything, so that we'll get that 2,000 to be able to maintain your sugar level. Just with dieting. If you are hypertensive, we should be able to check your BMI. Why are you this big and stuff like that? So we do the little calculations of what the food gives you and at what quantity you should take, so that it will run with the drugs you are taking. Yeah. So because the doctor will see you, tell you what to do and what not to do. The doctor will not come and sit down and start asking you, doing the little counseling that will bring out your feeding habit, that will help us counsel you, place you on proper diet, that will not be working with what the doctor is doing. It makes the work easier. So it's a teamwork.
Interesting. So yes. Why, beyond the fact that Nigerians don't have monies to come up to dietitians to expand their horizon when it comes to knowledge about food and what the food can do for them, because it's also part of medicine too.
Yes,
I mean, it's the kind of food you eat and then you become hypertensive. Why do you think the Nigerians don't really care about going to dietitians?
I think it's a lack of awareness. It's lack of awareness. What you don't know sometimes doesn't bother you until it comes down to you. It's lack of awareness. Because when some people, when do you see them, they will not be telling you, so something like this is existing. It's because they don't know. Because I know if they know, they will want to do it. In Igbo land, they say that you understand? What you use in, how do I put it? What you use in preventing life, that's keeping yourself alive, is not as expensive as death. So that kind of thing. So you need to put in more effort. What you know is what you know. What you don't know is what you don't know. So until you get to know about them, then you start knowing why they are existing. And that's part of the awareness creation we are doing. Like the whole of this week now, we are trying to go to the interlands, the villages, creating awareness, making them know what they should know, going on air to talk to people so that they will know that something like this is existing. So that when you go to the hospital, after seeing a doctor, you can now ask the doctor, please. Most times they refer you, depending on the hospital, but assuming it's a private hospital, you can now ask the person, please, do you have a dietitian who will help you better when it comes to dieting? I think that's the thing, you know. So, and there are so many universities that are doing it now. Even a suit here in Enugu, they are beginning to do it. So I believe with time, people will tend to know more about it. And
the common sicknesses like diabetes have been attributed to the things that we eat, especially the diabetes that come from being 50, 60 and above. It's practically about the intake of the things that someone had done earlier. Can you state for us those, food that are diabetes prone, for those who are there. Because again, they will still tell you that you needed those sugar at that time in order for you to grow and then to have a sound mind. So what's the quality, what's the quantity, what's the quality, what can someone do in order to make sure that you are not caught up with some of these old age diseases because of some of the activities you did while you were young?
Okay, thank you very much for this question. You know, diabetes is one of the non-communicable diseases we have. There are so many of them, so let me put them together. Our lifestyle most times push us to those non-communicable diseases. What we eat contributes a lot. You know, growing up, because we are not very much aware, we don't know what we are supposed to eat and what we are not supposed to eat. So you eat anything. Sometimes peer group, you join them, you do what others are doing just to meet up and stuff like that. But if you know the right thing and start doing it on time, it tends to help us. Our future is somehow secured. One, like what we eat, the salt intake. Initially, we didn't know about salt until they started creating the awareness. Reduce your salt, no table salt, this, that. So you had to reduce it. That's part of it, because it cuts across virtually all the non-communicable diseases. It comes in, even some that are not. Then you come in again for oil. You tell you the kind of oil you are supposed to take. Non-saturated, you go for that one. Not saturated. Saturated, those ones that sleep at room temperature, they congeal. Then the other one is the one that at room temperature is still in a fluid form. I tell you that this one is best. So at the long run, reduce fat intake, oil intake. And when you're talking about reducing it again, you're talking about oily meat, fried food, adding extra oil. You know that you can cook food now, you know there is oil in it, but you see some, you have extra oil in it. Even in the stew we make and stuffs like that. So we need to cut down on our fat intake. Another one again is we need to drink water. We need enough water. Not anything less than 3 liters per day. We need water, from the children to the adult and whatever, except you have a disease or you have an ailment where the doctor tells you that your water needs to be checked, your fluid intake. That one is different.
So what is 3 liters of water?
That's okay, that bottle, big bottle, like 3 of it a day.
3 of it a day?
Yes, not less than it.
Wow.
Not less than that. Okay. So you can take more.
Okay.
Yes, especially during the Harmattan, you know now, and this period where we are everywhere, heat period. Then again, we need to cut down on our alcohol intake across everybody. The women, the men folks, and even children. Now these days children are taking it more than every other hair. So we need to cut it down. There is no advantage apart from getting excited or feeling like among or whatever. Apart from that, there is no nutritive content of alcohol.
None at all. I thought they said they made it from herbs.
Which herb? I don't know about it.
Barley, herbs, and all
that's
those.
What they tell us. That's what they tell us. But evidence-based, there is nothing. That's why they tell people, stop it if you can. You know, some people, of course, must have been addicted to it. But what they can do is from 10 bottles to 7 bottles. Be intentional about it so that you gradually bring it down. Because most time, it predisposes us. It predisposes us to other illnesses at the old age. Just like smoking, we need to quit smoking. Any form of smoking, we need to quit them. Then we need to increase our fiber intake. Fiber are those things that, example of fibers are like vegetables that we are talking about, fruits that we eat on daily basis. Those ones, increase the quantity of it because it helps a lot. You can use it for weight watching, you can use it in controlling diabetes, you can use it for hypertensive patients, cancer patients. They do a lot. So we need to increase that quantity of fiber we take in a day, and then we need to go down to balanced meal. That's why I say we go back to the basis, eating local food that you are sure of, not processed food, because sometimes that thing you see on the label is not always correct, and most of us do not understand the meaning of what they write. Since we do not understand the meaning, why should we go and eat it? Eat what you know, and you know the content, so that when they ask you, say, this is what I am eating, not taking something you are not very sure of. Because with fakes everywhere, adulteration of food items, you see that a lot is coming up. Even the brandy and stuff, there is one we saw, Hennessy or so, where they are packaging it or something like that, in one bedroom. You understand? So these are the kind of lives. And then exercise, increase our physical activities, you know, not from one AC car to one AC room to, you know, we need to increase our physical activity, even if it's a 30 minutes exercise every day, workout, like the physiotherapist will tell you in your room, you can do the workout. Dancing can help you for 30 minutes. You can walk around the compound, and in your place of work, you can move around and stuff. It will help you. You know, this lifestyle, if we start it early, it will help us at the long run. That is it.
That's an interesting one. Do you think the government and the private sector have a role to play when it comes to access to food that are quite, you know, cheap, at least balanced diet?
Yes, they do. They do. Somehow, I don't want to say that they have failed us. Let me have the faith that it will be better. But I believe that the government can assist very well. One, the farming materials they normally bring around, the fertilizer, the equipment and stuff like that, if they can ensure that it gets to the people that needs it. You know, most times when they bring it, they give it to a particular set to go and share. They now keep it in one warehouse or the other, and then either they subsidize it in the interlands where, you know, where you might not be able to investigate and find out immediately, or they give it to their relations and stuff like that. If it can be given generally to people, at least find a way of making people get it, it will be better for us. Then security, because I believe that if we have security, people will go and farm. In some areas, when you ask them, they tell you they no longer go inside the bush to farm because they are scared of what might happen to them there. And you know, if anything happens, you understand? So because of that, people are scared of going far. They now tend to do the little around their house. I engaged into small farming around my house. The cows came, finished my potatoes.
Wow.
Finished my potatoes.
Your house?
Around my corner. Finished my potatoes. You understand? Because I stay outside, outskirts of Enugu. Finished everything. I was so disappointed. You can now imagine the person that is dependent on that. And it was when the potatoes were almost ready during the Christmas time. I finished announcing how I'm going to share the potatoes and doing shakarada, I'm doing farming. And the thing finished it, both the leaves and the roots. So you can now imagine somebody that has a farm out somewhere, and they now go into there and demolish everything. It will be very disastrous. And then we ourselves need to assist. If the government does not help us, we have to do something. Find a way of doing something around our house, within the compound, to help ourselves, you know. So because you can't fight the government, and we just keep praying that they will understand and remember us as at when.
Wow, what a day. We really appreciate you for your insights on the show this morning. Dieting in hard times. I mean, if I didn't have this conversation, I'll still be thinking that maybe I would still have an issue with eating high. Because like it or leave it, if you look at the food, even the local food are becoming expensive.
Yes.
The abacha you spoke about, I know of abacha that was selling for 800 naira. You're talking about 1.5. So
it's true.
So
you go home and make it yourself, then we have to learn how to do it. That's the only thing.
Is it cheaper that way?
Of course it is. Something that you can sustain. You know, things are hard. Instead of buying sachet water outside, why don't you go with your own small keg, bottle container, bottle water, put the quantity of water you want inside it, take it and go out. Use the money for that sachet water for another thing. We just have to find a way of sustaining ourselves in this period. You know, instead of eating out, you go home and eat. If you can't afford that, then you go home and prepare the food. That amount of money you are using in taking one plate will serve two people at home. Because that person is profit oriented,
Yeah.
You can't come out without making profit. So if you cannot patronize them and be sound, then you go home and do it yourself. You must have to plan it in such a way that you'll be able to do it. This okpa now, you see the small quantity of okpa that they sell 500 naira. I don't think it will be enough for a full-grown man to eat that okpa and water and be okay. Bros, you get a CB. But you see, if they prepare it at home, you will see that it will give you 2 wraps of that okpa and you'll be satisfied. You can even add other things to it to make it a bit balanced, because certainly we must eat. We must buy food. So when you buy, make sure you buy what is right. So it's about sustainability. How do we do it and get to that point of doing it? If you cannot do this, you do this. We mustn't stick to be rigid about that. You have to look at yourself and say, I can't take fish, I'm going to take crayfish, or I can't take 2 pieces of meat, I'm going to take 1 piece of meat. You know, so you have to plan it yourself and know how to go about it. If not, Ross, I don't really know. You understand? Because even the kids, you know, we need to talk to ourselves. You know, when you tell people about exclusive breastfeeding, now that things, infant formula is almost 7,000 naira a tin. Now, if you calculate it the proper way, a baby should be taking 2 things or 3 things in a day. So what is that person's source of income to be buying that quantity that the child requires on daily basis? And we have the natural one and we say we don't want to use it. So we need to think twice on how we are going to sustain ourselves in this hard time and know how to do it. Instead of buying noodles and stuff like that, don't we cook jollof rice? Make it softer and give the child. Because for you to prepare noodles to be balanced enough, you might spend more money.
True.
You understand? Unlike the jollof rice, that, you know, rice, it takes ingredients, it absorbs it more. And the way it increases, as you're adding water, it increases. You see that portion the person is using for that, you can use it for 2 or 3 meals for the person, for the child. So we need to go back and think well how to sustain ourselves, because it's not getting easy. It's not.
Right. Water plays a critical role in all of these, especially with dieting. Water.
Yes.
I'm wondering, for Enugu states that, you know, we don't really have water in Enugu states. The government is doing something in that direction. How much of that do you think is important for our health? Do you also think that sachet water is healthy?
For me, I don't think it's healthy. The person that is selling it to you, especially those ones they hawk around, you don't know where he or she has put in her hand. She will not use the hand to be giving you. And then you see some people, when they buy, they clean it on their clothes. They tip where they want to use and drink. You know, they clean it off. Hygienically, it is not good. It is not
all sachet water.
It is not. Except you are sure of where it is prepared, where they produce it. You can now say, okay, you buy and take it to your home. But those ones they hawk, I am not comfortable with it. You understand? The bottled water, you can wash it all, but that one, I don't really understand. I don't advocate for that. If you can buy from the main one and keep at home or keep wherever you want and be taking it on your own, you can just buy it and decide to wash and be sure it is hygienically clean, and then you take. But this issue of just picking it from somewhere, you know, sometimes people don't know that you don't store water with fresh food like meat, fish and stuff. Sometimes they store it in there and then bring it out to sell. Microorganisms in those ones can be transferred to that pack and then you drink and get it directly from there. But most times our mind doesn't go to that side. You now start thinking whether it's from another food or something, but maybe you can get it from there. So for me, I don't advocate for that hawking pure water, no.
Okay. So you know how difficult it is still in Nigeria. Pure water is a go-to.
15 naira per sachet. For me, anyhow you drink water at home, if you are going out, find a way and do it. If you are drinking stream water, boil it. If of course it is not good, but because of the situation, you can boil it, allow it to cool, sieve, and then put in cans that you will be drinking. Some places in Enugu, I know they have tap water there. Some go there, fetch, and then boil, put it in cans, and be drinking. If Peter Mba, His Excellency, decides to help us and ensure that the water starts, getting to so many places. I know GRA has water, so many other places, so that we can be drinking pipe water. Growing up, I was drinking tap water, milli pump. That's what we were drinking before we now enter the era of bottled water, the sachet water, or pure water, the one they tie in nylon, and they're telling you not to drink it. And now we entered into the sachet water and stuff like that. So, for me, if you boil water at home, if you are going out, please put it in a can, take it and go out and be drinking on your own. It might not be easy, but we have to find a way of going around it. If you're in the village and you people are drinking stream water or spring water or whatever, just ensure you boil it. After boiling, allow it to cool and then put in cans where you can be taken directly to drink. Because you can't go and do something that you will not be able to. Because I know somebody that was telling the children, if you finish one bag of pure water today, I'm not buying another one. Which means you are trying to curtail the quantity of water they drink in a day, which is not good. Water is as good as the food you eat. Yeah. Even the food can't work well without water. Even our blood can't move well without water. So we need all those things encompassing for us to live healthy.
Absolutely.
Yes, we need it.
Chizoba Okwy-Nweke, thank you so much. She is the chairman, Dietitians Association of Nigeria, Enugu chapter. Many thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
It's been an amazing time with you. Really, really amazing. I would love to bring you back sometime later.
Don't worry, very soon. We'll come and give you people special counseling. You've been trying for us.
We wouldn't mind.
Okay.
We wouldn't mind.
Save Nature TV. News in your pocket.